Hi, welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. Well, it's the 2nd of January, 2021. Happy New Year to everybody. We are entering here next week an interesting week with the dates of January 5 and 6 coming up. Everybody, I hope, knows what the significance of those days are. And then coming up later in the month, what's going to happen with the seating of a president. Things are very interesting, and things can get a lot more interesting real fast. I hear a lot of people talk about, and what I want to be talking about here is a little bit of truth. And can you handle the truth? Have you looked at the truth? And are you comfortable with the truth? How deep into the truth hole have you crawled? And what does it look like to you down there? And I'm not saying that anyone individually hasn't done that and isn't prepared for it, but I think that the vast majority of people are not. They have not looked. They have no concept of what could really happen or what they would really do, but there is a whole lot of talking about I'd do this and I'd do that. We could be coming into a time, as I mentioned in the last one, that brings about real oppression. Now, if enough people stand up in time and go against it, that could be circumvented. It could be delayed at least. Perhaps it could be avoided. I don't know. But I don't think there's enough people who will. I think there's plenty of people who are talking about it. Okay. When I put up that one on living under oppression, lessons from Northern Ireland, lessons from Ireland, and those of us of a particular persuasion, we don't call it Northern Ireland, we call it the North of Ireland. And if you watched that over on Patreon, I put up another one over there. You'll kind of understand what that was. Originally, I hadn't intended to put that first one, living under oppression here on YouTube. But after I reviewed it, I saw that I hadn't really gotten into anything that was too sensitive. So I decided to, because I think it's important for people to start thinking about that. And then I talked to some people at more length last night, and found that they had a real interest, as did some comments. And I see that on here we have some people who actually know about that situation over there in Ireland, and that's great to hear from you all. And so I thought that there's probably reason for me to put more up over on Patreon, and so I have. I've had a lot of people ask me for to talk more about Ireland, to talk more about the Troubles, suggested reading lists and things like that, and I haven't gotten back to that because the subject is just so deep and just so broad. I think I mentioned here, I used to give lectures on these things, and it would take me an hour just to scratch the surface. There's so much there. I don't know how I would encapsulate that into a short video, even a half an hour video, which would be short for the subject matter. And so I haven't really gotten to that, nor have I put up a reading list. Just Google it and you'll find plenty of it. Just Google the Troubles in Ireland and you'll get plenty to read. However, I ran upon a couple of excellent documentaries that I have put over on Patreon. If you are serious about what, serious in your concern about what may happen here in this country, I suggest you go over there and watch those things, and I'll probably be putting up a couple more. Nobody here in the United States has lived under oppression. I don't care what any people may think, okay? I've seen the best and the worst of our country, and nobody here lives under oppression the way others in the world do. They may feel picked on, they may feel, whatever, but that ain't oppression like could be coming. The north of Ireland is the perfect example and the perfect lesson of what oppression looks like. And it gives us the perfect example of the kind of resistance it takes in order to survive as a people, as individuals, under that oppression. Now, I don't think that there is any chance, and this is just going to tick a lot of people off, I know. I don't think that there is any chance that American people in any number will rise up against an oppressive government fist. I don't. This is what I talked to a group of friends about last night. I don't, because Americans have not lived, this generation have not, as a people, lived through hard times. Okay? They have not developed the strength. They don't understand the end result of true government oppression. Okay? They talk a lot about it. They talk about it. They think about it. They meet about it. They buy stuff to prepare for it. And that's one of the problems there. But they haven't seen enough to understand what it really is, and therefore they're just not going to stand up. It doesn't matter, we hear this idea about there are 300 million or more bang bangs, in this country. There's no way that they're gonna get them all, right? It doesn't matter. It does not matter how many pop guns are in this country. It doesn't matter a bit. What matters is how many people are willing to step up and stand up. And I contend that there's not many. I really don't think there is. It's easy to say when everything's good. We're all living good lives now. But when the knock comes on the door and they're staring you in the face and they say, we're here to collect those things, what is the average person going to do? Now, there will be exceptions. There will be people who say they will do any number of things. Not even going to get into that. I don't get into that stuff here on YouTube. There will be some people who will resist. What do you think the average person is going to do? The average person is going to think about, okay, what's this going to cost me if I don't comply? Going to cost me my livelihood, my job, my house, my family. You don't have a big future, looking out from the inside of a cell. And do you think that the government won't do that? The government will do that. Governments do that all over the world and have forever, and they will again. There was just a law I just read a few minutes ago. New York is somebody brought a bill together for the formation, and people are going to say, well, this is nothing new. We've known about the Walmart camps and FEMA camps and all this for years and years. Well, okay, that's been talk. Okay, there is now a bill going through apparently the New York legislature about containing or removing or containing carriers or contacts of this latest little virus. Contacts. That means if you've been in contact with somebody, and who hasn't been, okay, they can remove you, detain you somewhere. And in the bill it says that a judge must review your case within 60 days. How many of you ever spent time in jail? Some of you have, I'm sure. How many of you spent 60 days in jail without getting a hearing? And that being in your country, in the United States of America. because you were in contact with someone who had a positive test. These things are real. This is coming. If it's ever applied, we don't know, but we know that the groundwork is being laid. And we know that it's depending on what happens with this election as to how this could be applied. And I think people had better start getting so worried and so scared about this that they stop talking about acquiring stuff and start to develop a little mental steel. And that's what I see lacking. I watch a lot of videos lately, not the ones that I normally watch. There are some that I watch, people that I know, people that I follow on occasion. I'm not talking about them, but I have, as this thing has progressed, I've tapped into some other preparedness channels that I don't usually watch. And you know what? I see these people, in my opinion, are living on the surface. They're just floating around. They're just bobbing on the surface. They're talking about, I'm going to get this, and I'm going to plan this, and I'm going to get this, and I'm going to get that. You know what? I can look in their eyes, and I can see that they are not going to stand up when it happens, because they're all consumed with stuff. You go to Northern Ireland. You go to Belfast or Derry. Do you know what those people are concerned with? They're not concerned with stuff. You talk to them, you look in their eyes, you see serious people. And I don't mean people that are going off and, shouting doom and gloom and things like that. The latest fear porn. These are people who have lived a life under constant persecution. These are people who, because they stand against government policies, have spent time in prison or jail repeatedly. And by repeatedly, I don't mean 2 or 3 times. I mean 40 times, 50 times. This is the result of an oppressive government. And I don't think most people, I know that most people that I've met in the United States, and I've met a lot of people, don't have a clue as to what that's like. They have never been a place. Now, some of you guys out there, and women, some of y'all been places in the world where you have seen some of this stuff, but you haven't lived under it. Okay? You have been there as representatives of the, except in some special situations, you have been there as the representative of a major power, and that is totally different than being an individual who is under the boot of the government. And that's what could happen here. That's what could happen with this upcoming selection of a president and the Senate. And I don't think that most people who talk about it actually believe it. I don't. I don't think they believe it. And so when it does come down, after you know what we're going to have out of these 300 million, just call it 300 million. 300 million bang bangs. If it really came down to it, you know what we'd end up with? We'd end up with about 299 million being turned in by people who say, well, it was just a smart thing to do. It was just, I realized that, I couldn't fight, against it, stuff like that. And maybe a million out there. We'll see, right? But that's what's going to happen. Is that truth? I think it is. What do you think? You think that's truth? I bet if you take a real hard look at it and you look at the people around you, you say, yeah, Bob, he talks a good game, but he is not gonna. He's gonna hand it over. Yeah, Mary, she talks a good game, but she's gonna take the shot when it comes down to it. All you have to do is bring enough pressure to bear, and they'll go down. You know, the ones who resist, who truly resist an oppressive government, are the ones who don't break down. Now, I'm not here to tell anybody what they should do, but what I'm here to say is that if you are really serious about preparing yourself for what may be coming, your time would be far better spent taking a real deep look and some study into what happens as countries go into a Marxist decline, as they go into true governmental oppression. Learn about it, study it, understand it until you live it, you dream it, until it starts becoming as much a reality as it can be to you, as it can be without you having actually lived it yet. And your time would be spent better doing that than it would be out buying another whatever. Okay? You don't need another whatever. Trust me, to deal with this. Now, right now, and I was going to make another one today. I'll hold off until tomorrow, and that's what you should do right now. And there are some things you should just stock everything in to make yourself as self-reliant as possible for as long as possible. Now, I'm going to make that one tomorrow, but you don't need another fancy prepper tool. Okay, if you've got the basics, spend your time trying to understand and get your mind around and get your mind focused on what may be coming down the road, and then take a good look around you. Take a look at the people around you and say, who really are they? Are they who I think they are? Are they going to be there when the time comes? And decide. Because when it comes down, the situation will be making those decisions all around you. You're going to see people dropping like flies. Half of them will be the ones who stand up and beat their chest the most. And there's probably somebody here watching this that'll say, well, yeah, you're beating your chest. What are you going to do? Well, concern yourself with what you're going to do. Okay? I'll concern myself with what I'm going to do. But I have been there. So, that, I think, is probably the best thing that you can do right now, is to develop a full understanding of what true oppression is, and that and a belief, a realization, and acceptance that it might be coming our way. Go over there. Go over to the Patreon. Cost you $1. It'll be the best for this case. It'll be the best thinking $1 you have ever spent. And watch several of those videos that I've put up, and I'm going to put up a couple of more. That is going to show you what could come. Okay. It's not going to be exactly the same thing. It's not going to be sectarianism. It's not going to be Catholic versus Protestant. It is going to be divisions within the country. It is going to be the government being the one that instigates it, that propels it, that fuels it, and that arms and supports one side. And that's the danger. Go over and watch some people who have lived it for a long time, and then get in there. Let's forget a while about ordering more junk off of Amazon, okay? And get your head right. Get yourself ready. Okay, well, we'll see. You know, it's one of those things. What I just said is the truth. Can you handle the truth? And I'm sure a bunch of you can. I know a bunch of you can. But I know there's a bunch out there who can't and are just going to say, well, that's just stupid. Okay. Or you can send this crazy guy. You can send this around to your friends. Look at this crazy guy. Look what he's saying. Yeah. It's history, and history repeats itself. If it repeats itself here, we better be ready. Okay. I'll leave you at that. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. And according to this, the best preparation we can make is mental preparation. Figure out where you stand, what you stand for, where your lines are, and what you're going to do when certain things happen. Okay? I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.